and welcome everyone. I'm Tremaine Wright, the Chair of the Cannabis Control Board. Recognizing we have all members present and or participating remotely, I'm pleased to call to order another meeting of the Cannabis Control Board and to welcome all of you who are participating via real live stream. This meeting will be recorded and the recording and transcript will be available to the public on the Office of Cannabis Management's website, cannabis.ny.gov. Information on Cannabis Control Board meetings is available on the designated section of the OCM website. Today's agenda includes several items we're excited to tackle, and these include welcome and brief remarks, a review and approval of the meeting minutes from the Cannabis Control Board meeting held on May 19th, consideration of proposed packaging and labeling and marketing and advertising regulations, consideration of proposed cannabis laboratory testing regulations, consideration of recommended conditional cultivator applications for licensure, conflict of interest disclosure items, and consideration of a user service agreement with the Division of Criminal Justice Services. Then we'll follow with a report from the Office of Cannabis Management's Executive Director, Chris Alexander, and then we will adjourn. So let's get started. Today, I'm happy to share with you all that the rollout of our Seeding Opportunity Initiative is well on its way. We've already approved 146 adult use conditional cultivator licenses. These licenses are cultivating the first crops of regulated adult use cannabis in New York State. As reported at our last meeting, our partner, the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, has released requests for proposals related to the Social Equity Cannabis Investment Program. This social equity cannabis investment program will support our first retail dispensaries planned to open later this year. The Seeding Opportunity Initiative guides our initial steps toward developing a strong adult use market here in New York State. It has provided for limited cultivation and adult use sales. However, we recognize that there is so much more to do in order to establish a robust adult use cannabis market in New York State. So today, we're going to consider two sections of regulations that will be a part of the broader and much anticipated adult use regulations. They are the packaging and labeling and marketing and advertising regulations and regulations for cannabis laboratory testing. These regulations were selected as the first sections for consideration because they will help ensure products are safe and tested with appropriate consumer protection labeling. We also recognize the need to expand our cannabis laboratory testing capacity within the state to ensure we have enough third-party labs online and ready to properly test regulated cannabis products. So without further ado, let's dive into the first order of business. The first item before us is the review and approval of the meeting minutes from the May 19th Cannabis Control Board meeting. However, before we move much further, I need to make some brief remarks about the open meetings law. As stated at every meeting, the Cannabis Control Board is subject to the open meetings law to ensure the greatest levels of transparency and public participation in the affairs of government. Due to the ongoing pandemic, we have requested that members of the public join us via video conference, which we'll continue to offer to keep the public as well as members of this body safe. Now I'll read a brief statement on open meetings law into the record. Pursuant to Chapter 1 of the laws of 2022 enacted on January 14th, 2022, board members may continue to fully participate in meetings via video conference from locations that are not open to the public, provided that the public has the ability to view or listen to such proceedings, and the meetings are recorded and later transcribed. The public was provided with information on how to access this meeting within the public meeting notice distributed to members of the press and posted on the OCM website. A recording of this meeting together with the transcript will also be available on the OCM website. Previous recordings, meeting minutes, transcripts are archived there as well. And please note that there is a designated tab on the website entitled Board Meetings, which provides access to all of this information. May I please have a motion to approve the May 19th, 2022 board meeting minutes?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second.
That's good, thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 The motion to approve the May 19th, 2022 board meeting minutes carries. Next order of business before us will be one of our resolutions. May I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-11, resolution approving proposed regulations for packaging and labeling and marketing and advertising.
So moved.
Have a second? That was Perry. And I think we have Garcia. Did you just second?
Seconded.
Thank you. Now I'd like to ask Lila Hunt, our Deputy Director for Public Health and Campaigns, to please provide an overview of these regulations.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the members of the board. First, I'd like to begin with thanking our fellow cannabis regulators across the country. And in so doing, the regulations before you today were crafted based on numerous discussions with subject matter experts in those states, building off of best practice and lessons learned over many years. The packaging and labeling regulations before you have two primary goals. The first goal is to maintain safety and quality. To that end, all packages are required to be child resistant, tamper evident, non-toxic, and must fully enclose each product. Further, packaging and labeling cannot be attractive to individuals under 21. We have a robust definition before you for attractiveness to individuals under 21, which applies to both packaging and labeling and marketing and advertising. So for example, this would include packages that might resemble cartoons or toys or other similar products that would be marketed to individuals under 21, in particular candy or cookies or similar such products. All of these examples are expressly prohibited in the regulations. The second goal is to inform consumers about what it is they're consuming. So to that end, labels include any key public health messages, serving sizes, potency, ingredients, and usage and storage instructions. False or misleading statements or statements that make health claims will not be allowed. Further, and as seen on the screen here, a universal symbol will be included on all packages so that consumers know that it is a regulated product. New York State is the first state in the nation to have completed consumer testing of our universal symbol, and that feedback is incorporated in the image you see on the slide. Licensees who do not follow these rules may face fees, suspension, and revocation of their license. And to round it out, last but certainly not least, we've laid out provisions in this section of the regulations, which would create a new packaging environmental sustainability program. So to speak to this new program, I'd like to hand it to Board Member Metzger to provide an overview and add any comments.
Thank you, Lila. So first, I just want to give a little context for this. The Marijuana Regulation Taxation Act recognizes the critical importance of setting New York's cannabis industry on a sustainable path, and puts environmental protection and climate resiliency, right up front in the intent of the law. We face a climate crisis, and we have a real opportunity to get it right from the start, rather than repeating the mistakes made elsewhere. And this includes how we approach the packaging of cannabis products. The rate of plastics production worldwide is doubling every 15 years, and this has been largely driven by packaging. By mid-century, it's estimated that there will be more plastics in the ocean, ton for ton, than there will be fish, unless we change course. So it's not just a waste issue, it's also a climate issue. Plastics are made from fossil fuels, and when life cycle emissions are taken into account, the U.S. plastics industry is expected to, the emissions from that industry is expected to exceed the coal industry's emissions by the end of the decade. So the good news is that there are a variety of solutions and strategies available to address packaging needs sustainably. The proposed regulations are intended to encourage use of materials other than single-use plastics, But if plastics are used, they would need to have a minimum post-consumer content of 25%. License applicants, depending on the license type, will be required to submit an environmental sustainability program for packaging as part of their application. And this would be a program of the applicant's own design. And the reason why it's being included in the application is because the MRTA directs the board to consider waste and single-use plastic specifically, along with other criteria in licensing decisions. I want to note that we've included language in the regulations that are intended to clarify and make it easier to pursue reuse and refilling strategies if that's something that licensees would like to pursue. It's one of the best ways, of course, of reducing waste. The proposed regulations also require some basic annual reporting so that we can establish a baseline of information and evaluate progress over time. So, as I said in the beginning, this is a real opportunity to set a sustainable course, and we look forward to getting the public's feedback on these proposed regulations. So thanks so much, and back to you, Lila.
Jen. So next up, overview of Part 129, which is Marketing and Advertising Regulations. These regulations establish the rules for marketing and advertising adult use cannabis products and businesses who make or sell them, ensuring that such marketing and advertising will first and foremost not appeal to youth or promote misuse. In so doing, it prohibits including images or audio of children or cartoons, including actors that are less than 25 years of age. And it is anticipated that licensees would have to ensure that audiences where such marketing and advertising was placed would be 90% 21 ages, the age of 21 or over. Further, to the point that media cannot promote misuse, we included warnings such as age restrictions and notes about responsible consumption, which must be in bolded text in a bright yellow box if in written media or stated audibly if not. Avoiding promoting overconsumption, being false or misleading, again, a similar theme from packaging and labeling, or suggesting products are safe or have curative, therapeutic effects would not be allowed. Further, advertisements and retail store signage must follow rules within their location, format, and content, such that they cannot be within 500 feet of a school or playground, and they cannot be in the form of a billboard. And again, here, licensees who do not follow these rules may face suspension, cancellation, and revocation of their license and or fines. So thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Lila. And I'd like to open up the floor to the board members. Is there any discussion, question, or comments related to these proposed regulations? Daniel.
Yeah, just three things. One is I really appreciate the good work that our board member, Ms. Metzger, did on assisting with this. I know it's outside of your normal day-to-day job. So, Jen, thank you so much for the work you did on the sustainability side. It was very important and very helpful to us. Second, I just want to thank the staff. I read through these in pretty good detail. And I think you have looked at other people's mistakes as well as the good work they've done and incorporated that. Then finally, I do think that our labeling is something that's prominent but not overwhelming. That's important. So just congratulations. It should be noted that most of our staff, at least a good percentage of y'all, could not appear in an advertisement for the under 25. The youthful energy has been wonderful, and I appreciate it.
Other comments, questions? Okay, then I will call for a vote. Ms. Metzger,
Aye.
Ms. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel,
Yes.
and yes. So the motion to approve resolution number 2022-11, a resolution approving proposed regulations for packaging and labeling and marketing and advertising carries. Right. And now we're going to move to our second order. The resolution related to regulations for laboratory testing. May I please have a motion to consider and approve resolution number 2022-12, the resolution approving proposed regulations for laboratory testing.
So moved.
Metzger, may I have a second?
Second.
Daniel, thank you. And at this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Quackenbush, is she still available? She's online? Okay. Ms. Nicole Quackenbush, the Office's Director of Health and Safety, to provide an explanation of these proposed regulations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the board, and good afternoon, everyone. The Cannabis Laboratory Proposed Regulations establish an application process that will allow us to permit independent cannabis testing labs, as well as approve laboratory testing firms. The existing independent laboratories that are already certified to test medical cannabis under the Department of Health would be authorized to test medical as well as adult use cannabis under the Office of Cannabis Management. Laboratories must be ISO 17025 accredited, as well as meet other quality assurance and staffing requirements. Ownership is prohibited from having a direct or indirect interest in any other registration or license type under the cannabis law. Laboratory sampling firms, which would be independent of the registered organizations or licensees for adult use, would be collecting the samples from the registered organizations and licensees for lab testing to ensure that there are random sample collections to help protect public health and safety. The proposed regulations also include requirements for a state reference laboratory so that we may test when needed for quality assurance matters and to assist with laboratory methods development. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Nicole. I'd like to ask of the board, are there any questions, comments, and/or discussion? McDaniel, I see.
I have heard, through the grapevine that other states have had a problem with people gaming the testing system. And as I read these regulations, it seemed like we had taken that into account by having some overlays and multiple tests of the testers, if you will. But Nicole or Chris, can you talk a little bit about how you consider that concern in these regulations?
Sure. So the regulations include the independent sampling firms to collect the samples so that the licensees are not selecting specific samples. They're randomly collected. Additionally, there is no ownership intermingling with the sampling firm as well as the licensees or the registered organizations to promote that third-party scenario with the sampling firm collecting.
In addition to that, a lot of the gaming that we've seen in other states has been where you have a proliferation of a lot of small labs, a lot of mom and pop labs, and as they compete for business from potential operators, they tend to be more flexible in the way they report out THC content or other readings on analytes or contaminants. And so part of what we've been exploring by bringing in the folks that have been in the medical program and letting them start first, trying to assess the supply constraints or the supply needs before letting it out too much. So I think there's going to be a process of grandfathering the folks that have been in that want to participate in adult use, and then allowing others to come in on a need basis to avoid that oversupply and that potential for abuse as people lab shop. That's what we heard from a lot of other regulators in other states.
That's great to hear. Again, I think just another example of you all as a staff looking at other regulations, other states, seeing what the issues have been, and incorporating them into our regulations. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? So if there are no other comments, I'm going to call for a vote. Ms. Metzger?
Aye.
Ms. Garcia?
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
I vote in affirmative as well. So the motion to approve resolution number 2022-12, resolution approving proposed regulations for laboratory testing carries. Now we'll move over to our conditional cultivator applications for licensure. Concerning the next order of business, may I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-13, resolution approving conditional cultivator applications for licensure.
So moved.
Oh, second.
Thank you. Ms. Alexandria, can you please provide an overview of these applications?
Absolutely, and thank you, Madam Chair and board members, for the work that you're doing today to continue to advance the Seeding Opportunity Initiative. We're so thrilled to again present to you some applications for consideration. Today we're presenting 16 applications before you. This would add to the 146 that the board has approved over the course of the 3 previous board meetings. We've received more than 200 applications to date from New York's existing hemp farmers who've been interested in transitioning over to the adult use program. And we continue to work with applicants to complete these applications. The application period does close on June 30th, and we've advanced this to continue to make the best and the most of the growing season, knowing that this product will line the stores of equity entrepreneur-owned dispensaries before the end of this year. So we're really excited to advance these additional applications and look forward to answering any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions, comments?
I guess I would just make,
Yes.
Madam Chair, just more of a comment, but you know, we're now at the beginning of June, and in terms of the growing season, you know, there is some, you know, there's a timing issue of moving these forward. We're all very cognizant of, and I do want us to consider, you know, meeting as frequently as possible between now and the end of the month to move applications forward as expeditiously as possible.
Thank you for that comment. I believe that we are trying to meet the needs of all of our applicants and potential licensees. We have agreed to make sure that we are meeting as regularly as possible so that we can process them as they become completed applications. And at this point, I believe it was in your report that how many do we have outstanding still? We're just waiting for them to complete.
Yeah, we're waiting for additional information to come in, background check information, that type.
And as soon as that is available, our next meeting will be scheduled. So thank you very much for bringing that up, Member Metzger. Are there any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. Ms. Metzger?
Aye.
Ms. Garcia?
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
I vote in affirmative as well. So the motion to approve resolution number 2022-13, resolution approving conditional cultivator applications for licensure carries. Our next order of business is consideration of 2 conflict of interest disclosures. The first one we'll take up is resolution number 2022-14, permitting member Jen Metzger to hold public office and serve as a member of the Cannabis Control Board. May I please have a motion to consider and approve resolution 2022-14, permitting Jen Metzger to hold public office and serve as a member of the Cannabis Control Board.
So moved.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms.
And
Garcia.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I'm going to recuse myself from this.
Yes. Mr. Alexander, can you please provide us with some background regarding the need for these types of resolutions?
No problem. Pursuant to Article 2, Section 7 of the Cannabis Law, board members and office staff must disclose and seek approval to participate in other public offices or boards. We've advanced previous resolutions like this in the past. This resolution provides express written permission for board member Metzger and a member of our staff to continue to serve on the boards that they currently serve on.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, question, or comments? Mr. Perry?
Yes, I don't know how we can move or vote on this without knowing what those other boards that they intend to serve on are.
Sure thing, board member, if I can respond.
Yes, please.
Sir, for Board Member Metzger, it's the Ulster County Land Bank Development Corporation.
At this time, would you like to also identify the?
Oh, sure.
list of-
Sure, absolutely. And the office staff is Erica Stupp, and she's a member of the New York State Department of Health Institutional Review Board.
Has this gone, I guess one of the other questions would be, has our council reviewed this and
Yes.
explored any conflicts that might arise? And have they spoken to each of the people that are seeking this disclosure resolution?
Yes, yes, they have.
Okay.
May I suggest a friendly amendment to both of these resolutions to specify which public office we are giving approval to participate?
Yes. We may, do you have a hard copy of the resolution? Right. So I believe it recognizes, it is on the it should be the last paragraph of the resolution. It currently reads, resolved, the board provides its express written permission for Jen Metzger to continue to hold the following public office, Ulster County Land Bank Development Corporation member. Does that suffice, or would you like to change that language, Member Garcia?
That suffices provided that it's in the resolution.
Okay, yes. So just to be clear, we are not going to, so there is no amendment that fails. That is being withdrawn. The resolution, the last paragraph of the resolution in the resolved paragraph identifies the service or the board which our member and or staff will be participating on in each case. Are there any other questions or concerns? Okay. Then I'll call for a vote. Ms. Garcia,
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel.
Aye.
Mr. Perry.
Aye.
Affirmative as well. The motion to approve resolution number 2022-14 carries. And now for our second conflict of interest disclosure resolution. I'm going to ask, may I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-15 permitting Erica Stupp to hold public office and serve as a member of the Office of Cannabis Management.
So move.
I have a second.
Second.
Please.
Second.
Is there any discussion or comments regarding this resolution? And just for sake of clarity, I just want to read the resolved paragraph into the record. Resolved, the board approves its express written permission for Erica Stupp to continue to hold the following public office: New York State Department of Health Institutional Review Board member. Are there any questions or comments? The board? Ms. Garcia?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll call for the vote. I'm sorry. Ms. Garcia?
Aye.
Ms. Metzger?
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel?
Aye.
Mr. Perry?
Aye.
I vote in the affirmative as well. The motion to approve resolution 2022-15 carries. Our next, no, we have a bunch of resolutions today. The next thing on our agenda is to consider a resolution to enter into a data service agreement with the Division of Criminal Justice Services. May I please have a motion to consider resolution number 2022-16, which is a resolution to authorize the Executive Director of the Office of Cannabis Management to implement a user service agreement between the Office of Cannabis Management and the Division of Criminal Justice Services.
So moved.
McDaniel, may I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Garcia. At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Alexander, could you please provide us with some background regarding the need for this resolution?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. This resolution is a little administrative in nature, but it is very important. Section 138 of the Cannabis Law authorizes the board to request, receive, and review criminal history information through the Division of Criminal Justice Services. With respect to each applicant who appears before the board seeking a registration, license, permit, or authorizations to engage in regulated activities. This resolution will put that into practice and allow OCM staff to utilize that access to conduct background checks.
Thank you, Chris. Is there any discussion, comments, or questions? Board? Okay. Hearing none, I will call for the vote. Ms. Garcia,
Aye.
Ms. Metzger,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
and I vote in the affirmative as well. The motion to approve resolution number 2022-16, resolution to authorize the executive director of the Office of Cannabis Management to implement a user service agreement between the Office of Cannabis Management and the Division of Criminal Justice Services carries. Now I'd like to ask Ms. Alexander, would you please share with us the executive director's report?
Thank you again, Madam Chair. We are so excited of the outreach and support and public engagement that we've had around our card opportunity, the conditional adult use retail dispensary opportunity. We actually, to help inform the public, hosted 2 virtual meetings after our last meeting. We called them Get Ready, Get Set workshops to prepare eligible New Yorkers for the opportunity that's oncoming, and to hear directly from communities about this opportunity and answer any questions that they may have. We focused on engaging individuals with convictions by leaning on community-based organizations who serve said population, while also leaning on the small business community to identify as well business owners who also meet the eligibility criteria. We also held 2 learning sessions where we heard directly from the public on input, etc., on the opportunity on May 17th and another the day following. First was, am I eligible for card? And the second was, how can I prepare my community for card? Apologies. The 2 learning sessions, listening sessions were called how to support cannabis cultivation in New York State. Session 2 was as how to ensure equity in New York's cannabis economy. So we're really pleased with the input that we received from the public and for those who engaged with us and with our office. And we encourage the rest of you out there listening to continue to do so. And you can submit your comment on the regulations, or you could have submitted up until yesterday when the regulation period closed. So we thank you to all who have engaged with us and have submitted comments. I also wanted to let the board and the public know the work that the office is doing to expand licensing and regulatory compliance within the cannabinoid hemp program, specifically the retail outlets selling cannabinoid hemp or CBD products. We're advancing a multi-pronged strategy to ensure that these businesses become compliant in the next few months and become fully in line step with the regulations that were advanced by this board a few months ago. This outreach will include several different tactics, including a digital and on-the-ground outreach campaign. And we are growing our staff to ensure that we're able to meet those demands. We're also going to continue to use this platform, our board meetings, to encourage and to direct these businesses who are engaged in practice and hoping to one day transition to adult use practice as well, to come into compliance with the cannabinoid hemp program. We are leaning on our industry associations, elected officials, and other community-based organizations to assist with this process. And we want to make sure that even though we've started with an educational approach, this is a requirement. And so businesses that are unable to come into compliance are at risk of losing their existing registration or may experience other fines or fees. Lastly, I will continue to provide the board with updates on this important initiative and outreach. Lastly, I wanted to let the board know and the public that due to a clerical error in the regulations posted for home cultivation of medical cannabis, the comment period is actually being extended an additional 45 days to ensure that the public is able to meaningfully provide their input on the correct draft of regulations. The regulations will be posted in the State Register on June 8th, and all comments received so far will still be considered, but we do want to let patients know that we are considering all the input that they provided and making sure that we have a robust and responsive medical home cultivation program that is tightly regulated and meets the needs of patients. Thank you, Madam Chair, and that concludes my report today, unless any board members have a question.
Any questions or comments? Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that report and all the work that the office is doing. So moving forward, and it's really wonderful to have the outreach that we have going on with the community right now. So I want to say thank you for that. There's been a lot of feedback from organizations and just local people asking, and we responded. So thank you very much, and I hope that we can continue to meet the needs of our community that way. So it's very effective for them. Thank you. And now a note on our next board meeting. I do want to note that the board's time, location, and live stream link will be shared on cannabis.ny.gov in advance of the next Cannabis Control Board meeting. A recording of today's meeting, our meeting minutes, and a transcription will be posted as well. And as today is June 1st, we just want to say happy Pride Month, and that we hope that people are able to come together, celebrate, that we will be able to join some of these celebrations to make sure that we're present to not only support Pride throughout New York State, but also to make sure that that community is well aware of everything that's happening in cannabis in New York State as well. So thank you. This concludes today's agenda. Forward to see you again soon. Of my classes. Adam, yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.